What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show here on a Thursday night. Going to do a little memory one tonight. Bring Craig in. What's up, Craig? I'll fix
Hey,
your camera a little bit there. Tilt it up,
you hear me
brother.
okay?
Yeah, just tilt that up a tad.
Hey,
You've
man, it
already
ain't much
you
to look
already
at.
you already been drinking, so maybe that's why it's not working. But if you're watching, don't know the news, our good friend Gerry Call did pass a few days back, and we wanted to give him a little memory tonight. Those that know him, great guy, unbelievable prospector, cold call. We had her speak at High Stakes Advising 2019, share some ideas, some stories. Had him at Craig, your first event back in La Jolla, Mr. X, I think they called him.
Yeah.
And, I remember him being phenomenal at that event, just full of excitement, great stories, great rebuttals, and figure we'd honor him tonight with a little episode on cold calling and tell some stories that you got on him.
Oh,
Before I go into it, show sponsor none other than Virtue Health. Check us out, virtuealliance.com, your private group purchasing consortium. Check us out. Also, high stakes advising, guys. We sold 10 tickets last week, and I will tell you, we are going to sell out. Early bird is up. It's ending in, I don't know, 2 weeks. We're probably going to sell out maybe right after the first early bird. Those that don't know, Wolf of Wall Street, #1 sales trainer in the world, Jordan Belfort, will be there. He will not be talking about health insurance products. He will be talking about selling.
thank
Okay.
God.
We're going to have some other great speakers. Going to be a great time. Virtue Health producers come in on Saturday. We're going to take a trip out on Saturday. It will be fun. Lots of fun. And I think that's it, Craig. Fire away. And those that say cold calling doesn't work, I just want to, before you go into it, I
Yeah.
want to bring up a picture I sent you in the group. I cleaning out my office, and I found hundreds of these are prospect folders that I didn't close to show how many meetings that you go on as you're building your books. And 98% of my block was built on cold calls. So those that say it doesn't work or can't work and I don't want to do it, bullshit. Okay. It works day in, day out. We see it. Craig's done it. I've done it. I built off of it. And being able to cold call, whether you're doing it, you're hiring somebody to do it, it's a necessity. You got to keep that spigot going always. We got a few gentlemen here in the crowd. Pierre Timmerman, Gerry's boy.
Pierre, you got
Brian
any
Street.
stories? You type them into the chat, and we'll talk about them. Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Fire away, Craig. Give us some
Yep.
of those good stories, Gerry.
Gerry.
Louisiana boy down in NOLA.
Gerry Call. This man was the most energetic. I mean, the man did not need coffee. I mean, he was high energy all the time and could talk and talk and talk. I don't even know if he took a breath sometimes. He was so passionate about life. He had an easy smile. It was just, it was always a pleasure to be around Gerry. And he never let a good conspiracy story, pass him by too. He loved those. He loved to pour himself into some of those stories. And
3 a.m. I'd get a text message from Gerry Call, some conspiracy.
Yeah. It was like, it's Gerry, you got to understand. I mean, he's passionate about a lot of different things. And it was just, it was great to be around him. And so I was thinking about, knowing we were going to do this today, I was thinking about when I first met him. I was in Tennessee, in Nashville, and we were at an event and it got snowed out. And we were in the Gaylord Center, so it's like everything's under one big roof, all the hotels, all the restaurants. It snowed in Nashville like 12 inches. And so nobody could get to work. So there was like two restaurants open at a 9, where the people had gotten there. And so we just hung out in the bar, me and Gerry and Pierre. And, Pierre's your classic, skeptical, I wasn't from Louisiana, so I was automatically not necessarily trustworthy, especially being from California, no less. And Gerry, Jer was just, he was all over me. I mean, he's calling me up at midnight, go, I can't sleep. Oh my God. I mean, he was just great. And for me, I was excited because it was snowing outside. I'm from Southern California. We've never had snow. And yeah, that's where I met Jer and Pierre. And Pierre's known Gerry for 30 years. So I'm hoping that Pierre has some good stories out there. So I met Jer there, and we hit it off, and we figured out, he was a former carrier rep and an underwriter and a retail broker, and he was kind of betwixt in between at the time, and wasn't sure what he was going to do. And he liked our Trojan Horse solution, our cyber program. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to market this. I know I can market this. So what did he do? In typical Gerry style, he went out and bought like 5 books and read everything he could get his hands on. And the number one book that he loved was How to Get an Appointment with Anybody. It was written, I don't remember the guy's name, but it's a former Wall Street Journal.
Stu Heineke.
Stu Heineke, yeah, How to Get an Appointment with Anybody, and that was his Bible.
He spoke at your event. He got him at the event that you had in La Jolla.
Yeah, and damned if the thing didn't work. Now, you got to understand, Gerry. So we identify like 60 prospects we're going on. We're going elephant hunting, man. I mean, we're talking airlines and big companies. So I'll start with the airlines. It's like, well, how the hell are you going to get a phone call with the air? Don't worry about it. I'm going to get it. I'll do it. And so Gerry would spend the time and develop relationships with the staff, the screeners, the VPs of sales prevention, the assistant to the CFO, whoever that might be. And he was relentless. He would find out, he'd converse with them, he'd chat with them, he'd send them flowers, he'd send them chocolates, he'd find out what they were interested in. One time he sent somebody like a seat from some baseball stadium because that was the town they were from, and they were really a big baseball fan. I mean, he was committed, baby. And I'll never forget one time in Dallas, we wrote this case. And when we showed up live, Gerry had talked to the assistant so many times that they were like best pals. They hugged, and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. I mean, this guy went from, I'm a stranger on a phone call, to when we finally see each other face to face, we're hugging, So, I mean, that's my classic Gerry story. I'm just sitting there, picking my butt, waiting to talk to the CEO, and he sees the interaction, and he's thinking, wow, okay, these guys got a relationship. And we walk into the office, and the mailer that we sent them is sitting there behind the guy's desk. He goes, well, I got to tell you guys, this is the reason you're here. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. I mean, actually, the reason we're here is sitting next to me. It's Gerry. And so he got us into airlines. He got us into 100,000 employee group in Texas. We flew down there. We met them. They had this incredibly ornate, it was a state public sector institution, right? It's like, well, the first step is this, and then we have public hearings, and then you need to come to the public hearings. And then we post them live on the internet so people can take questions. It was just ridiculous. It was no wonder they were trending at 12%. And I always remember that because the lawyer for the public sector for the state of Texas, his name was Shaq. And me being a basketball junkie, I'm like, Shaq. He's an old white guy, I'm like, well, tell me the story. How did that name come about? So I literally spent 18 months, and Pierre, you can correct me if I'm remembering right. I probably spent 18 months driving all over Louisiana and Mississippi with Gerry. Because he told me, he says, hey, Craig, you're from California. That's not how we do things around here in Louisiana. He says, you're never going to write any business unless you're with somebody from Louisiana. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, oh, you'll see. So check this out. This is the funniest thing. To me, I thought it was funny. We'd be in meetings, and these adults, these are people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And they all, you could tell by the accent when Gerry got excited, man, he was almost, I'm not saying he was Cajun, but he went native, and sometimes it was hard for me to follow him, but they understood each other. and they would talk about what high school they went to. What high school did you guys go to? And that was the normal course of business. And I was just fascinated by that. I'm like, no one's ever asked me that in my entire adult life. What high school did you go to? And yet, like, that's a normal course of business in the state of Louisiana. So it was perfect for Gerry. He was just, so personable. He made a pretty good wingman. Pierre says, yeah, he made a pretty good wingman. Oh yeah. I mean, Gerry was great.
Yeah, I mean, so tell a little bit of the story too, and I think everybody sees you doing Sira and success that you've had, but just give people a refresher of the first couple of years selling Sira and getting people on the phone and doing it with Gerry, and Gerry going through the hunt with you, and then eventually coming to work with you, and what you guys went through. You weren't taking, money or whatever, getting paid. He wasn't getting paid and just believed in something and was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I don't need a salary to do it.
It was the closest
We're
thing to
running.
religion that you get, right? I mean, we did it all on faith. I knew it was going to work. I had confidence, but we were probably 0 for 50 starting out because I was later reminded of the Mark Twain quote. He said, before I die, I'm going to move to Louisiana because then I know I'll be the last one to go. Now, that's just a commentary about how slow things move there. And so, yeah, we went and invested many hours. I probably flew to New Orleans, 40 times. And what we did was we always ate fantastic food there in Nolens, and Gerry knew all the great places to go. And so we had a lot of good meals, a lot of good laughs, but it was a challenge, right? I mean, we started out and people were like, I never heard of this. How come I never heard of this? How come my boy who's been my broker for 20 years never heard of it? How come he's not telling me about it? And so, stories like that, nothing new. I mean, you could call that DPC or RBP or, whatever you want to mention nowadays. People haven't heard of it. They're naturally skeptical. It's kind of what I call institutionalized skepticism. It's built into the program. Most brokers have it. All clients have it. And so you have to get through that. You have to overcome it. And then so once we did, and we could create some dominoes, that was the effect. It was like once you got the first domino, it was easier to get the second domino, the third domino, and now, the largest distribution partners in the state of Louisiana are, helping us move the product.
And how many years later is that? Just so people know, like with cold calls, they are cold, right? It may take a year, 2 years. Shit, what did we have somebody on the Hunters Club call say? 10 years they called on them to get them. That's a long time.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
a long
reality
time.
is cold calling works. It just takes some time for them to know,
Yeah.
like, and trust you.
Yeah, I'll bet in Louisiana it took us 18 months to crack the very first one. Now that's normally, and that's only because, we weren't doing anything except one thing. We had to hang our hat on one solution that nobody'd ever heard of and no one in the state had. That's another question they always ask. Well, who else is doing this in Louisiana? And so,
Has to be
it was,
Louisiana.
I didn't know I was picking the hardest damn state in the country to go after first, but as you can tell, I mean, just look at my shirt, I'm a little nerdy. And so Gerry was, a nice counterparty to my somewhat nerdiness. Anybody who knows what this says, you should type it in the notes too, right? Maybe I'll give you an Amazon card if you can figure this out. So Pierre says, yeah, so true. It took 2 years to crack our first case. Yeah.
Now, most advisors would just quit and give up on that. You spent money on marketing. You spent money on travel. Talk about that, just because I remember you telling me the stories. If you want to share it, is the kind of money you spent with
I'm going to
faith
show
in
you
the
something.
solution, with faith in the solution, not getting reimbursed by the company, investing his own money into this solution, traveling all over the country, and what type of money you laid out to make this thing work and how many years it took.
Yeah, I did the Stu Heinecke thing, right? So I paid Stu as part of his program to create a cartoon that he licensed to us. And so we would put the prospect's name into the cartoon, and it came in this really, oh man, it was a bitchin' giant cardboard box. And so, you started to find out things you never knew in prospecting. So Gerry would be calling, and it's like, well, we're going to send, we get to the point where you finally get the assistant to go, we're going to send this to you. We don't want to be a surprise for you, but we'd like to be a surprise for your boss. And so, where do we send it? And then, so like the airline that we went after, hell, it had to go to one mailing place where they scan it through an x-ray machine to make sure you're not trying to bomb the executive. And then they would mail it to another place and they would bless it and then take it to corporate. It was like, you got to be kidding me. You can't just send a piece of mail to the CFO? Nope. And so lots of learning curves. Stu's program was a financial commitment. I mean, I spent multiple six figures, figuring out how to market something that everyone was naturally skeptical about, thought it was too good to be true. But I knew that I could figure it out. So we figured it out, and that's the game. The game's never changed. Only the name of the solution that you're marketing changes. So depending on what you're doing, you just have to figure out the game. And that's what Gerry was incredible. His secret was, he goes like, Craig, I can get in literally. I mean, he was dead serious. I can get to anybody, but it's incredibly time consuming. It requires a great amount of energy and commitment to develop the rapport and relationship with the assistant to the CEO or the assistant to the CFO, because they have so many competing demands and there's so many other people calling, which a lot of times brokers don't realize. And so, it was taxing. By the time we went through about 75 leads like that with the Stu Heineke program, Gerry was burned out. He's like, man, I need a break. I got to sell something simple like pharmacy for a little while.
Yeah, it's a brutal long sales cycle, those out there. So you got to stick with it. I think Donovan Pyle said, "I ate pie" is what your shirt says.
Yeah, a couple guys here. Aaron. Yeah. Well, no, you left out. Aaron's got it right. Right. I ate some pie, and it was delicious.
Aaron, send a message to Craig. I'll get you out Amazon gift card for getting it right here.
Right on, man. Aaron, I know you're a little nerdy too. Good man.
And so I think there's probably a lot of new guys out there that may be struggling, or guys that are closer to your age and were in the business for a while.
What are you trying to say, John?
You've been around the block and back. You came back. You left the business on vacation, still in the business, and then came back and said, "I'm going to do this again."
Yeah.
How frustrating is it being successful prior in a retail business, and then taking time off, and then coming back and trying to sell a solution and not being able to sell shit for a while?
Yeah, it is definitely, you can go through some mental anguish. It was never really a big thing for me, because I had done the work ahead of time, so that it allowed me to not have to worry about, I have to make a sale next month. And so because of that, it gave me the freedom to, step on the accelerator any way that I chose to and live with the consequences. And so, I didn't always take the right tact, and but I always tried to analyze and review, an after action review, and go, okay. And so ultimately, that's where, if any of you know me and my history, I'm the one who's always telling you, you need to talk to the C-suite, the CEO, the owner, the CFO, because they're strategic. Everybody below them is tactical. And so it's much, much harder to get somebody who lives and breathes compliance, processes, and administration to interrupt their day to talk about strategy. And so I became, very committed to that approach. And and ultimately proved, to be correct. But it nonetheless, it doesn't make it any easier to try and crack the egg of the C-suite versus human resources. But that's all part of the game, right? We had to learn a different language, right? I paid a consultant who was a private equity investment banker, and I paid him a lot of money to teach me how to articulate the messaging in finance terms, right? So everything that we recommend to everybody, you have to pay for your education. Okay. Otherwise, you can wait 20 freaking years and you're either going to be one of two people. You're going to be better because you've been in the business 20 years and you kept improving. In the bell shaped curve of life, you're an outlier. Within 2 standard deviations, you're probably in the 94%, where you've just been practicing about the same way since your second year in business and repeating it 18 times. And now you're 20 years in the business, but you're not really that good. And so you have to be able to understand that if you're doing something, it's not getting results, then you probably need to adapt, modify, change, adjust how you're doing it, what you're saying, who you're talking to, because maybe it's the wrong group. And I went through that. I still go through it. I mean, I talk to everybody today. I mean, I make a joke out of it. I'm like, our solution is so good. If your IQ is over 80, you're going to say yes. And still, people tell me no every week. And I just go, next. I don't have time to fix stupid. So you just have to move on. And, you guys can't take things personally, right? No means next opportunity. Get to know as fast as you can. Gerry was fantastic at that, right? Although, he'd never want to, if it was on his list, no just meant I'll call back another week when maybe you're less stressed. And so, his whole goal was, I'm going to invest in this relationship so much that these people are probably going to want to date me. And then I'll get to the CFO. And we closed some business and in using his tactics and strategies. And it was, it was a lot of fun. But I just know from my personality, I couldn't do that. I was never good enough to do anything like that. I was much more bland, much more dry. I wanted to talk to the CFO because that was comfortable for me. I didn't want to have personal conversations with the assistant to the CFO. So you got to find your strengths, right? And then you got to play to them. I found Gerry. He loved doing that stuff. I said, Gerry gives the best phone of anybody I've ever met.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie. I had a phenomenal prospector that would just slam people over the head of on the phone. And what's funny is he told me about Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to go watch it. He told me about him before the movie and before all that stuff. And I had him on my team, and I credit a lot of my success to that because you saw these these files here. Those were all him. I was not the one booking those meetings. Some of them, yeah, he might have warmed up and then we converted them. They needed a second call, but those were led by him. So it is a team effort. In general, closers are not really good, or salespeople are not that good at prospecting, especially if you pick this book up. This is a good book. We talked about it before. Predictable Revenue talks about it. The biggest mistake companies make is they hire salespeople for 6 figures and then they tell them to prospect. And so, a lot of agencies or people that we've talked to or I see out there always had some sort of marketing team or person that's really good at getting them in. Look at our boys out in South Carolina. They got Jimmy. He's banging the phones. He's getting in front of people for these guys. You're talking about a guy, Craig, that's sped up from learning. Shout out to Josh Hyman. He was 26 like a year and a half, 2 years ago when he came to the event and just ripped through it. Broker records, case sizes going up, consulting agreements, and
didn't let the older guys in the office tell him it couldn't be done. Just went out and did it.
And that's how fast. I mean, that's how fast your learning curve can go up. If you're around people doing it, right people doing it, you establish relationships like at this event, High Stakes Advising 2021. I'm going to keep promoting it. till we sell out. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to be around other producers. We're about 50, 60 tickets sold already. We're going to probably cap it at 75 or 100, but you're going to meet other guys, have relationships, learn from people doing it, been doing it, and you're going to take a lot home with you, even if you know everything. I mean, you got guys, Craig, right, that show up that
Oh,
know everything, and they're like, I still took 5 pages of notes, because sometimes you just need a refresher on what somebody else is doing or creative idea, or you need to hear it again, because we hear
yeah.
so much stuff and we forget about it. And
Yeah,
and
because remember,
so
this will be so last year we got canceled, but I mean, this will be the fourth time I've talked to brokers in a group format, and there's an extraordinary amount of learning going on. Actually, it's less important than what you're actually going to take action on. I always tell everybody, look, I don't, it's great that you take a lot of notes, but you have to find one thing that you're actually going to do. Change your habits and do it. And when you find out that it works, like Josh Hyman, I think Josh, within a very short period of time, called John and said, "Hey, I told him we were going to charge a fee to do a small group quote," and they said, "Yes, of course." But I think he was the one. He was like, "Well, yeah, we don't expect you to do it for free." Like, first time ever said to a broker who had the guts to actually say they were going to charge a fee. Lesson there. Um, that's the game. If you come to the event and you invest the time and the money to do it, then decide on what you're going to take action on, whatever it is, and you will make your money back if you have prospects within 30 days. If you don't have prospects, that's a different issue.
yeah, if you're not
Right?
marketing and you don't have prospects and you're not looking to grow, probably not the event for you. This is a sales and marketing event. So come if you're looking to close more business. If you're cruising, you just want a good time, probably not the event for you, even though we're going to have a good time, but it is going to be limited. We're going to limit it because we just don't want it to be that big. It just doesn't make sense. But you look at a guy like Paul Seeger attending the event going to be 2 years ago in the summer, took action. Now he's
Took
speaking at the
action.
event. He's
Yeah.
going to be speaking, telling some stories. That'll be fun. We got some other stuff planned, but yeah, cold calling. He's going to be talking about cold calling. He's going to be talking about booking appointments, how to book them, the scripts, the follow up. You can do it yourself. The emails. He's going to basically hand it over to you, the playbook that we helped create, all of us, and what's working. And I can't tell you. I think he said he had 40 calls last week.
Tell
When he
tell
finished up.
the large private equity backed organization that bought the rights to his future income for millions of dollars that cold calling doesn't work.
Yeah. So learn how to cold call. But again, just we wanted to give a special show here for Gerry, our buddy. We're going to miss him. Gerry would have been at the event, probably would have gave a little spiel,
Yes.
but maybe we'll do something for him there. But rest in peace, Gerry. Condolences to his family. It was good to be around you. Last
My
cheers. If
buddy.
you're watching at home, give him a cheers.
Cheers to
And
Jer.
one in our industry. We got to take care of everybody. So
He was a one and only. A great fun guy. Yeah. And I will miss his passion,
yeah,
his energy.
man is excited. Like you said, had more energy than. I was like, Gerry,
He,
calm down.
he was just
Slow
wired for sound
down.
all the time. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I walk into a mastermind event and he'd be telling me something. I'd be like, calm down. I just got here. I didn't even get my first drink yet.
We'd be
Hold on.
driving to Mississippi, right? And it's a long drive, right? And I mean, I wouldn't have to say anything for maybe 30 minutes at a time. I mean, Jerry would just be on a roll. He would just go, go, go.
He was like a little kid of excitement. So
Yeah.
what you need in selling is excitement, enthusiasm. That's what we liked. And people heard it over the phone, and that helps. Look, when you're
Oh,
calling,
totally. Yeah.
better be excited about something, because if you're not so excited, why would I be excited about taking a meeting with you?
It
So
was so easy for him to just sound conversational like you were talking to a friend. That's what he got really good at, right? And so it's like writing. When you write, you try to write like you were speaking. Like if we were just having a conversation right now, write that way. because then it sounds conversational. So Gerry was super good at just having a conversation with a stranger on the phone to develop a relationship, to create rapport. And then it would just be one step at a time. And that was his mastery. He could develop a relationship over time with these people, and they'd say, okay, I'm ready to introduce you to the CFO. Go ahead and send. That's a skill.
I remember when he first pitched me on Syra, he called me, and I knew what it was because I'd spoke to you, and I'm like, and he was so bad. He was so bad, and I remember like, oh yeah, I know what it was. And then fast forward to your event, so just a natural of getting better and studying and shooting the game. He was just
Yeah.
like, I was like, I don't know if I came over and told you, I was like, God damn, he was so smooth, and he just had it down really, really good compared to a couple months before when he cold called me. But it
Yeah.
was like butter, and he was the confidence. And I was like, wow, you got a lot better, you
Yeah.
know?
We went to New York City one time, right? So I sponsored this private equity. I don't know. Shit, I think I did the after party, and so we sponsored it. So we had to work the room. So Gerry's going his way, I'm going my way. By the time I met up with him, later in the night, Gerry, he had like a freaking stack of cards.
Was that me too? Was that the night the one I went to or no? Was
Did
that
you
the same
go
one?
in New York
I went to
City?
one too. Yeah. I think I was there on that one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you had me pimping out, and I was like, I don't like doing networking, but you've helped me. All right, I'm gonna go run around and just pitch people and pull them over.
Yeah,
And that was the game.
yeah. So Gerry was the one who came up with, I sell dollars for 25 cents. How many would you like to buy? Classic Gerry.
Good man, good man. Well, we'll end it there, guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. As always, we'll see you next week. Tune in. If you're watching on the podcast, make sure you check us out live on YouTube or in the private Facebook group. Hey, next week we're gonna be at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. We're gonna start a half hour late. Got my buddy Harry from Verikai. We're gonna talk about V squared, Virtue Health, and Verikai's partnership to help you write self-funded business by converting fully insured over with no IMQs. No more IMQs. Say no to IMQs. Virtue Health has it for the consortium. We can win, convert business using Verikai's technology. Check us out. Guys, thanks for joining us. Happy hunting, happy selling. Be good. See you next week.
See you next week.